There hasn't been as much change as I expected, but we are continuing to have some discussions tomorrow morning to explore some of the technical issues surrounding it. And the meeting was useful, but inconclusive.
Is the Prime Minister accepting some of what were your red lines on a customs union, for example?
Well, we discussed this at some length, and I put forward the view from the Labour Party that we want to achieve a customs union with the European Union. We want to have access to the market, and in particular we discussed the dynamic regulatory alignment, that is guaranteed European regulations as a minimum on particularly environment as well as consumer and employment rights. So we did have a discussion about all of that, and this will continue tomorrow at a technical level. When
you looked into the Prime Minister's eyes, was she serious about doing a cross-party deal?
She invited us to the meeting, and I accepted the meeting to go there to set out our views. She did put out the government's view, but the whole thing seems to depend on accepting the withdrawal agreement as put forward at the present time in a legislative form. Clearly, that has to be taken together with the future political arrangements declaration, and we did spend some time discussing that and explored some issues around future trade agreements.
Did you or your side raise the issue of your party's policy on a public vote?
Yes, we did. It was raised by me at the beginning of the meeting and said, look, this is a policy of our party that we would want to pursue the option of a public vote to prevent crashing out or prevent leaving on a bad deal. There was no agreement reached on that. We just put it there as one of the issues that the Labour Party conference voted on last year.
And therefore, are you open, is the government open to the idea of an extension that is longer than just May the 22nd, that could involve European parliamentary elections?
If it goes beyond the 22nd of May, then clearly it does involve European elections, which the government absolutely does not want to be involved in. They made that very, very clear. The Prime Minister has made that clear in the House as well as in meetings with me, and that is why she is very keen to get a vote through the House next week in order to get an agreement with the EU, which will mean that Britain does not have to take part in the EU elections.
The Shadow Foreign Secretary Emily Thornberry appears to have written to the Shadow Cabinet and said that the referendum issue must be on the table, that you shouldn't accept a deal with the Prime Minister without that being on the table. Is it a red line for you?
Well, there was no deal offered, and there's no deal being offered by us either. We just discussed where we're at, and she reiterated where she is at the present time, and so red lines in the future didn't come up.
You obviously were in the House for that drama of the tied vote. There is a consequence to that, which means that the only indicative vote process that might now happen is if these talks don't succeed. Do you want to see indicative votes on Monday?
I want to see the House make a decision, hopefully in the direction that I would want, which is customs union and protection of rights as well as access to trade. Of course I want to see that. We'll put forward our views again. It won't be the same kind of indicative vote process as last time, because this will be part of, we assume, government legislation, but there's an awful lot of talking to do before we reach that position.